Today's video is going to focus on using evergreen boughs for winter protection. I want to give you an overview of what evergreen boughs you can use, how do you place those evergreen boughs to protect, whether it's in ground cover or fruit crops such as strawberries. We'll talk about the advantages of using the evergreen boughs as winter protection, the advantages of using the boughs as comparable to a mulch. Now I'll walk you through the different stages of that, and I'll talk about some of the advantages and disadvantages. I'll talk about some of the drawbacks of using the evergreen boughs as a mulch too. But one of the things that I am going to do today is we have some excess evergreen boughs left over from a tree that was cut down. I think we're finished making wreaths for the holidays. So those excess boughs I'm going to place on some of the nursery perennials we've got temporarily planted and some wood chips here. As you can see here, I've covered the perennials with the concolor fir boughs. Why do we want to protect those native perennials, and why use evergreen boughs? Well, number one, evergreen boughs act as a mulch. Number two, they were something that we had handy, something we can reuse. Ideally, you want to wait until the ground has frozen. With climate change, we have to expect the unexpected. Next, I'm going to talk about using some of those evergreen boughs on strawberries. Ideally, you want to use straw, which is basically the stem of either oats, rye, wheat. Because we are certified organic on the farm, it's quite a challenge to source some organic straw. We can use untreated straw. In our case, what we are going to do is we are going to use these evergreen boughs, which came from a tree here on the farm. It is untreated. The tree was certified organic. There's a patch of strawberries that we expanded this fall, and you'll notice in the back here that we had some excess dried stems of hydrangeas that we had harvested for some use in some dried wreaths. But we were finished with the dried wreaths, so we put them out here. Yes, they are woody. It will take a little bit longer to decompose, but they are some materials that we have, so we'll take advantage of them. What is another thing that these evergreen boughs are going to do? Well, they're going to keep that soil covered. And by keeping the soil covered, either with a mulch, ideally you want a cover crop, it's going to reduce erosion, and it's going to keep more of that carbon sequestered, or keep it more locked into the soil. What we also try to do on the farm is to make sure that every inch of soil, as much as we can, is covered. Whether it's covered in some sort of a mulch or it's covered with a cover crop. So one thing to keep in mind is this is a newly planted bed of strawberries planted about 6 weeks ago. We want to cover some of those gaps in the soil. So if you look at that bed and the gaps in the soil compared to the one on my left, which this strawberry bed is pretty dense. As you can see, the newly planted strawberries are now covered with the evergreen boughs from the concolor fir. One thing you want to remember when you are using evergreen boughs for covering ground cover that might not be very winter hardy, or if you're covering a perennial fruit crop such as strawberries, you want to make sure that you overlap the evergreen boughs, but leave some gaps so that light can still penetrate through to the plants beneath. Two other things to remember when using evergreen boughs. Yes, these will have to be removed in the spring as soon as the ground thaws. Number two, the needles that shed from when these evergreen boughs dry out, those needles will provide some organic matter to this planting bed, which is good. The downside of that is that it will tend to acidify, make the soil more acid. But I think in the long run we're going to have more benefits from the needles adding organic matter, and the change in the pH, how sweet or sour the soil is going to be minimal. As you can see, I finished placing the evergreen boughs on the strawberries. This is the end of this is the part of the patch that was not divided, that's more densely planted. Today's video, I hope I've given you an overview of using evergreen boughs for winter protection, some of the advantages and disadvantages, and a little bit about what kinds of evergreen boughs you can use, and trying to make do with what materials you have. That completes this video for today. See you next time.